Yeah, and I would like to continue by shortly talking about the narrator and the point of view in this text. And it's a first-person narrator, um, and it's a real story, authentic, you can say. Um, yeah, and it's told as a flashback where we see it from the main character's point of view. Um, and I think the fact that the author decides to use a first-person narrator in this story brings the reader closer to the main character, and it makes it even easier for the reader to sympathize with the main character. Um, but at the same time, you can say that it limits the reader to only see the story from one perspective, and in this case, the main character's perspective. When talking about themes and message, I have said that the main themes are guilt, racism, and social heritage. And guilt is shown through the main character's feelings, uh, how he feels in the story, and 20 years later, and this guilt that he probably has to deal with for the rest of his life. Yeah. And racism is shown especially through how Allison, but also the main character, how they treat the black girl, and how it's easily affected by the parents, which leads me to my third main theme called social heritage. Yeah, and I think this story really shows how easily children can get influenced by their parents, and how it can cause, how it can make children do unacceptable and almost inhuman actions, like in this story. And I said that the message could be that the author wants to show how to avoid this, things like this to happen, both as a child and as an adult or a parent. He's showing his regrets of this incident, and how he also tries to say this is how you should raise your child, and this is wrong to say, and so I think that could be the message of the text. And when putting the text in perspective to other texts we have read, I have chosen The Unbelonging by John Riley. It was actually the first one I thought of when I read the text, because the black girl really reminds me of Hyacinth in The Unbelonging, where she comes to an English-speaking white country, you can say, and she doesn't fit in. And in this in this story with the black girl, and the black girl in this story could be likely to feel unbelonged too. Yeah, and the next text is the poem Titch Miller by Weddy Cope, which is a poem about being different and how it can have social consequences for you as a child, like with the black girl in this story. And the last text is The Right Time to Fly, a text I read at our midterm exams. Yeah, and in The Right Time to Fly, there's a man called Marcus who feels guilt about the death of his own son, like the main character does. Also feels guilt about something that has happened in the past in this story. And I would, as I said, I would also like to put the theme into perspective, and again, I would like to put it in relation to social heritage, because I think, sorry, I think it's something you can relate to today's society, and how important. I think this story could really be an eye-opener for some people today to see the importance of social heritage and which things or views you should give your child, and how you raise a child in the best way.